You are listening to Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. In this podcast, we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies for reducing your reliance on insurance. Join us as we interview industry experts, share success stories, and provide valuable insights to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. I am Naren Arulraja, one of the co-hosts of this podcast dedicated to helping practices that are tangled up with insurance. We talk about topics that help you take more control and create a bigger and better future for you, your patients, and of course, your team members. My guest is my dear friend, Ben Tuinei, and we're going to have some fun talking about what insurance executives are planning for 2024 as it pertains to relationships with dentists. Before we talk about what the insurance execs are planning as it pertains to relationships with dentists in 2024, I have a quick announcement to make. We have an event coming up. It's the Insurance Untangled Live event, Biggest Mistakes to Avoid in 2024 and Beyond. Biggest Mistakes to Avoid in 2024 and Beyond. This is a 3-hour event with a 30-minute break. I'm excited to have some amazing panelists, me, Jordan, and also speakers, Ben, and many, many other experts. If you go to the link to insuranceuntangleded.com, and you can see all this information. It's going to be on the 1st of March, Friday, 12 to 3:30 Eastern. You get 3 hours of CE. So looking forward to all of that. So sign up. We have quite a few of you have already signed up. So there's a few more spots left. So sign up. The attendance is on us. It's our gift to you, so you don't need to pay anything. Bring your colleagues, bring your friends, and don't make the same mistakes that everybody else is making, and make 2024 your best year yet. So Ben, let's dive right in. What insurance executives are planning for 2024 as it pertains to relationships with dentists? How are you doing today?
Pretty good, Naren. It's great to chat with you.
Yeah. My first question to you, Ben, is how do you obtain the information you get about insurance changes? And is the information you obtain public knowledge?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that the insurance industry doesn't want dentists to know as it pertains to changes. So you have this whole realm of what they claim to do, which is transparency, right, between insurance companies and dentists. But I think they're getting better at this, the transparency part, but it's more so because they're making changes that are uncomfortable for them and their clients as a result of dentists going out of network. So I feel like insurance companies are making a big shift to include more transparency to dentists, but the changes that I'm hearing are not public knowledge. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to offend anybody or get a lawsuit for mentioning some of these changes, but my job is to report what I hear and what I can verify. So I actually talked to several insurance executives directly, and a lot of times off the record in an effort to sort of understand their position in certain things that they do that harm, that could be very difficult for dentists to deal with. But with that said, the information that I do have, it does come directly from executives that work for the major insurance plans. I can't name them, but all I can say is that these are dental plans that represent the majority of patients in almost every state. So it's pretty good, solid information. And then what I'll end with that is that when you see policy changes, Naren, where an insurance company makes a big drastic change in one area, what you tend to see is most of the other insurance carriers following suit, simply because when a big insurance company makes a big change, whether it's good or bad, there's a big reason behind it in an effort to sort of help improve how the insurance company does stuff. So the information that I have today, it comes directly from those people that work at the very top of these companies.
Thank you so much, Ben. Yeah, I think this is important, right? I know they talk about transparency, but unfortunately, it's just lip service sometimes, and you really don't know what they're thinking or what they're doing. And I think it goes back to, we become comfortable with what works, right? I mean,
Mhm.
for 40, 50 years, the executives of these insurance companies that are nonprofits have been paid millions of dollars, right?
Right. Oh,
And
yeah.
if I'm them, I want to keep that, right? Because hey, at the end of the day, I have yet to meet a human being who says, "Oh, I'm here to help others and not worry about me." So of course, that's their number one priority. Like make sure themselves and their buddies who are at the C-suite get taken care of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then of course the number two priority is the guy who writes the check, which is the employer.
Mhm. Yep.
Then number three priority is the patient, and then the number four priority, who is the reason the employer is writing the check, and the last priority is the doctor who actually provides the care. Even though if you think about it, without the doctors, there's no business, right? I mean, imagine
Right.
every doctor decides tomorrow they're not going to work with a single insurance company. Done, they're finished, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But they have realized, fortunately or unfortunately, that doctors are their least priority. So always the lip service is what it is, lip service. And then of course, I mean, think about it, right? I mean, they are paying doctors today what they paid doctors 30 years ago. I mean, in terms of max,
Mhm.
1,000, 1,200, $1,500. And cost of living has gone up. So has the fees they collect from employers have gone up astronomically. So where is the rest of the money going? So you collect more money, but you don't pay out more. You're paying out what you used to pay out 30 years ago. So
Mhm.
what about the rest? It's going into somebody's pocket. And definitely that somebody is not the practice owner. It's definitely people, at the top of these insurance companies. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm so glad someone like you is bringing this information out to the public and sharing it. So in your discussions with insurance executives, of course, you can't name any names, but are you aware of any changes that will have a negative impact on dentists?
Yeah, that's a good question, Naren. I think the obvious that is not necessarily a written rule, but going back as far as we can go in terms of the current model for reimbursement of dental insurance, the objective is twofold. Number one, to minimize claim payouts, but the number two, to control the fees or the amount that's paid out to dentists or to patients on a dollar amount basis. So there's a tug of war going on right now where historically insurance carriers have won that game in an effort to control fees, particularly the major insurance carriers in dental have had much of a stronghold on setting fees or determining fees at a much lower level. Now, every insurance company is still testing the waters with that in communities where and this is mostly big cities, where there's a lot of in-network providers. What you're seeing is that insurance carriers are pushing everybody's buttons just to see what the reaction is going to be with fee cuts. So we are seeing a lot of those fee cuts across the country. Fortunately, the dentists aren't tolerating those, like the majority of dentists, but there's still not enough dentists protesting by way of going out of network in those larger cities, right? Where insurance carriers lower fees, and then they keep you at a lower fee just because most of the dentists are staying in network.
Right.
So just be aware. I think if you're a dentist in a city, that's the major problem that you face, is that city dentists are more likely to retain in-network status, which does show a pattern of much lower fees compared to other areas of the state where doctors are out of network. Now, the other thing, negative impact, is that, so this is coming directly from the mouth of a director, a licensed dentist who's a director for an insurance carrier. What he's saying is that insurance companies are going to significantly increase the adjudication and the denials on perio, as well as buildups. Meaning, in the past, you can submit a buildup with a crown, Aaron, and when you send that to insurance, you can mention that the crown requires a buildup for retention, right? Which is the main criteria in which the buildup code was written for, is for crown retention. But these days that doesn't work. So insurance carriers are even if you use some language like 50 or 60% of the tooth structure was compromised and required to be restored, and a buildup is necessary in an effort to prepare the crown for proper retention to the tooth, right? That language is not working as often as you want it to. And so you're going to see an increase in denials. In fact, I was just in Montana last week, a state where the in-network participation has been relatively low. But even they said, yeah, we're starting to see more and more denials and more bundling with buildups But it's not just limited to perial and buildups. You're going to start to see more bundled codes. And the part that really irks me is that the patient's plan design may cover a procedure in full, but the plan is still going to downgrade it because it's savings for the insurance plan, which does force the patient to pay more out of pocket, right? Because with less payment by the insurance, the patient has to pay more financially. To my knowledge, in terms of talking to lawyers and judges, that activity is 100% illegal. But because patients don't know how to challenge, they don't know any different. They don't know how insurance works. And most team members don't even, like in dental practices, how do you know whether a plan, whether a downgrade is actually legit or not, right? Unless you do a pre-authorization, there's really no way for you to know. So it seems like the insurance industry is sort of skirting on this edge of unethics and illegal activity, which we've actually been seeing this stuff going on for years. But I've been told that those things will start to rise this year, mainly because with the amount of doctors going out of network, the insurance companies it needs to find other ways to save money, right?
Right.
And so those are some of the bigger changes that I'm seeing. Oh, and then yeah, well, I'll end there in terms of that question. Those are some of the biggest changes that I'm hearing, and then I'm also seeing that as start going to accelerate here in 2024.
Awesome. Awesome. I think it's so good that you're bringing out these negative impacts. I mean, the insurance company's model is, dentist is the frog, like, put the frog in the, water and slowly boil the water a degree every year. So they're testing, right? They're testing by denying more, they're testing by cutting fees and seeing how far they can take it,
Right.
and as long as enough dentists don't protest or don't quit, they'll keep doing it. I mean, they have been doing that for the last 30, 40 years.
That's right.
Let's go to the next one. What about out of network? What negative changes or any changes out of network benefits that are currently being discussed?
Yeah, so historically, what you've seen there and with out of network is that the benefit structures would mostly mirror that of in network in terms of percentage coverage. Like if you go out of network, you can have a plan designed with an insurance plan that covers 100% of the out of network allowance. And insurance carriers have different methodologies to determine, okay, what are we going to pay off of? What fee are we going to follow out of network that's not the dentist's fees, right? So self-funded plans, they would typically create an actual fee schedule that's used both in network and out of network. So if the patient went out of network, the plan is still going to what they call in insurance is they're going to allow the same in-network fees. So let's say out of network you charge $1,500 for a crown, but the in-network fee that you terminated was only $1,000. So when you're out of network, the plan will pay off of $1,000, so they'll pay $500. So the other $1,000 that's left, which is the difference between what insurance paid and your office fees, just simple math there, that is a patient responsibility, right? So what's going on now is that insurance companies that are representing self-funded plans, the brokers are creating set fee schedules that will govern both in-network and out-of-network to make sure that the employer doesn't incur a higher cost as a result of patients going towards out-of-network. Now, as more and more doctors go out of network, what I've actually seen and witnessed in places like Montana last week, this is fresh knowledge, is that in certain communities where there's no in-network providers of any kind, they don't take Medicaid, they don't take Delta, Cigna, Blue Cross, they're just all fee-for-service and out of network. Well, what I've seen are policy changes like this. Medicaid allows you then to go and see any dentist that's nearby, right? And then Medicaid will just reimbursement whatever the in-network rates are. And then it's, the patients will then just pay the difference, right? So big companies are doing the same thing. On the PPO side is they're allowing that same accommodation. But the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that, the old indemnity programs, right? The indemnity insurance plans that would pay claims regardless of the network status of the doctors. You didn't need to get credentialed. You'd still be able to accept assignment of benefit and get paid. So a lot of insurance carriers are accommodating the no in-network dentist that's going on in a lot of pockets of the country by formulating benefits for patients that look like in-network, right? So it's minimal it's the same, roughly around the same type of out-of-pocket you experience as going in-network, but it's full coverage, right? Up to that $1,500 annual max. So that's actually very beneficial for both patients and the dentist because it does tend to foster on the dentist side a good relationship with the insurance carriers in the sense that nobody needs to go in network anymore anyway, right? And then the last thing I'll mention about that, Naren, is that in Massachusetts, they passed a loss ratio law that requires insurance carriers to use 83% of the premium they collect when somebody buys dental insurance. They have to use 83% of that to pay benefits. So there have been a number of insurance carriers that have made announcements that they're currently exiting the state of Massachusetts to no longer do business there. Now, that could be good or bad for the state of Massachusetts. If you have one insurance carrier that dominates the state and then they raise premiums on patients in an effort to accommodate that 83% payout, what you're going to see is sort of a contentious relationship. Well, this is just a prediction among the economists. There could potentially be some contentious relationships between patients and doctors, because the insurance industry is now twisting. The reason why they're leaving is because they're saying the doctors are greedy. So we're leaving the state because it's a great PR move by the insurance industry. Unfortunately, it does harm dentists. But I shouldn't call it great. But when you think about it from a PR perspective, using that language, it makes them look like the good guy, right? We can't do business in the state. We're leaving. So with many states thinking about passing the same type of loss ratio law, I would say hold off on that. Talk to Marco at the ADA, the chief economist, first. I don't know his exact official opinion on this, but I did sense that when I spoke to him personally that these laws, you have to be very careful with the impact that's going to have on the community, because at the end of the day, the insurance companies are going to maintain profitable, even if there are loss ratio laws that do change. They're going to make it up somewhere else. And unfortunately, right now, the only area that they can is by raising the premiums on the employers and still paying you the same fees in the past.
Right.
So yeah, so those in a short synopsis, those are some of the big changes that I'm seeing going on with regards to out of network.
Thank you so much. Let me ask you about, aside from these administrative changes that we talked about so far, are you aware of any new dental plan types that are in the works in dentistry?
Yeah, so I think, Naren, when you and I first met each other, gosh, this would have been back 2017 or 18, there was people in Toronto that were developing a dental plan called, I think it started off with the name ProCare, and then it changed to Plan Surety. That whole effort ended up dying in 2020, mainly because, number one, the economy, and then number two, other functions with regards to just the dental plan culture as it exists today. But I'm hearing that efforts like that Plan Surety product, in terms of direct reimbursement to doctors, the ADA has tried many times to sort of partner with companies that are thinking along those lines. So I think Beam is one of the companies that the ADA is partnering with to do that direct relationship program. But now I'm hearing that the same insurance companies that pay you reimbursements are creating direct reimbursement programs as well to hopefully eventually replace the current model, in network and out of network. In this case, the direct reimbursement model will be so much different and very attractive to the employers in terms of having more options to see any dentist that you want. But I'm starting to see those types of plans resurface, the direct reimbursement model. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, but do you think it's like the oil companies designing an electric car? Meaning, of course, imagine if they've done it, they would have made sure it died, right? Like it's just a smoke and mirrors, so nobody else ends up creating an electric car.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, when you look at, the United States goal to go fully electric with every vehicle, I think it was by 2030 or something along those lines. I could be wrong about that number. But when you look at our power grid today and talk to anybody that understands how much power we supply, in all parts of the United States, if you ask the question, if every car was electric today, will our power supply even have enough power to charge those batteries for all those cars? And the answer to that is no. We're so far away from that, right? So when you talk about these initiatives, there's so much things that need to change in order for you to get there to make it a successful move, right?
Right.
And the same is true with these dental plans, is that, the reason why Plan Surety it didn't take off is because something like that requires a massive amount of effort. It's a culture change, right?
Yeah.
And right now you have dental insurance companies that hold the market. They hold market share there. And so your competition could easily wipe you out. And that's probably one of the reasons why Plan Surety never came about, is because the insurance industry didn't feel like it was a threat. Well, now they do. So if Plan Surety were to be resurrected today, the biggest dynamic is the fact that doctors are going out of network and just not tolerating in-network status in general. That is a perfect environment to introduce new types of dental plans like the one with Plan Surety that I don't know if they're coming back, but there are a lot of groups and insurance carriers, their plan designs look exactly like Plan Surety, So there's change. There's change that might come in the next 3 to 4 years.
Thank you. Let me ask you the last question as we bring this to a close. What do you advise for those who are wanting to know more about specific insurance claims policy changes? Is there a resource? Is there a place to go? Like, I know this is so vast, right? I mean, already it's very complicated. And then every year there's more changes on top of that. And there are so many plans.
Yes, absolutely. So what I would suggest for any dental practice is to contact your insurance company, the insurance companies that you're in network with, or the ones that pay you as out of network, and request a copy of what's called a dental resource guide or a policy and procedure manual. So these policies and procedures and resource guides, they tell you as a dental practice how the insurance company pays claims, how they handle payment for codes, what the downgrade policies are per code, right? And so the cool thing about understanding that is that all the changes, the policy changes as it pertains to how you get paid that the insurance companies would impose this year, you'll know about them in those policies and procedures or the dental resource guides. That's something that maybe a half of 1% of dental practices are aware that exists. But if everybody, regardless of your network status, if most of your patients have insurance and you get those policies and procedures or resource guides, it's going to be mind-blowing, the information that you're going to get. Like, no wonder why these claims are denied. No wonder why they're bundled. Oh, here's how I unbundle a crown and a buildup, or a buildup from a crown. So the biggest advice with this episode is contact provider relations and request a policy and procedure manual. If they don't know what that is, say, well, it's a dental resource guide that outlines how you as an insurance company pay claims. We would like to have a copy of that by virtue of our in-network agreement, or just say, simply because it's helpful for us as an out-of-network provider to know what your policies are and how you pay claims so that we can make sure that the patients are using their benefits properly, right? So there you go.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I learned a ton, as always. You are like an encyclopedia, walking, talking encyclopedia, and updated real time, right? The old encyclopedias only get updated once a year. Like,
Yeah.
it gets updated like 2 times a day.
Thank you,
So
man.
thank you, Ben, for everything you do for the community and everything you do for Insurance Untangled. Really appreciate it. I also want to take a minute to thank all of our listeners. We cannot do what we do without you. So if you find this information valuable, share it with your friends. Of course, write a review for us so hopefully others can discover us. So we can untangle this mess we call insurance and hopefully make your life a little bit easier next week, next month, next year than it is today. And I hope to see you on the 1st of March, which is our big annual event where we talk about the biggest mistakes and how to avoid them to make 2024 the best year yet. So go to insuranceuntangleded.com, find all the resources, benefit from them. Till we see you again, have a wonderful week ahead.